Hello and welcome to Season 10, Episode 17 of the Purple Rain, the mid-year review. Oz, of course, our great sponsors, Sodium Capital, DR Travels, and Bloom Real Estate are here to help us out. But Oz, how are you going, mate?
Mate, absolutely fantastic weekend. Firstly, not having to worry about whether your team wins or loses, wins and losses, as I say. But it was fantastic. The daughter played her first game of competitive basketball.
Exciting.
And watching the young'uns run around with absolutely no idea, one ref allowing Travels to go and the other was just learning the craft, so to speak, and was pulling him up on Travels at every occasion. And as he ran past it, mate, I love what you're doing. I really know you're trying. If you're going to blow the whistle for every Travel, mate,
we're not going to have a game.
we're not going to have a game here.
Yeah.
Just let them play. They were getting absolutely pantsed. I think it was like 15 to 20 points down or whatever it was at one point. And the girls loved it, mate. It was great. She had an absolute blast. I told you this before, so it was pretty funny. And I told her, like, when you defend, you're going to make sure you stand in front, get your arms up, stop them from dribbling. So, yeah, no worries. That's great. And then what I didn't tell her was that when they turn the ball over and we have the ball, that means you now are on offense, right? So you can't continue to play defense on your player. She was just standing in front, waving her arms.
Setting screens.
It was setting screens. It's
Boxing
pretty funny.
out.
And then, Dark, of all things,
Fundamentals.
before I get to you, the dog goes to the vet today. Now, everyone knows
This
about
dog needs to go to the farm. But
my beloved dog, who's now entering senile territory, may have some demencia,
Double
onset
Achilles.
dementia.
Dog dementia.
No Achilles, going blind, hurt a paw, and then now she's recovered. She's on some roids. So the dogs, I don't know how long we'll be talking about the dog. So I'll just say it's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, I'll give you the red hot, mate. The dog's lucky it doesn't live down our way. Otherwise, it would have gone there.
But she's
Doggy paradise probably about 5 years ago, bud.
she wants to see a Dockers premiership, mate. So sooner rather than later, boys.
Hanging on.
How about you, mate?
Yeah, good one, Oz. It's just a quiet weekend. It was really quite nice. Looked after little girl. On Saturday, I did have a good. On Sunday, we just went to Karrinyup. Like, we didn't do much in the morning. Went to Karrinyup. It's nice when the weather's nice. Like, you get jobs done. You do your washing, all that kind of stuff. I like to hang my washing out rather than put it in the dryer because I'm a bit of a stinge. Anyway, so I'm going to take my daughter for a walk around the lake on a little bikey scooter thing that she's got. I've got to the top entrance of the lake, which is about 5 minutes from our house, and I've gone, hello. Had a look in the old DAX, and it's just disaster zone down there. So we've turned it around.
Post by disaster.
Kel's expecting that we might be away for an hour, so she's just having a bit of a chill out time. And I've come in about 10 minutes later, being like, "We had an accident." She's like, "Oh, is Molly okay?" I was like, "Oh no, sorry, bad terminology, phrasing. Yeah. Where's the phrasing when it comes to?"
Don't say that to the parent.
Yeah, that's it. So we changed nappy. By the time we changed nappy, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So we just chilled out at home, and it was good. It was a nice weekend. So But shall we get into it, Oz? This week's Good, Bad and Dockery, of course, is brought to you, as always, by DR Travels. For all your travel needs, make sure you get in contact with Daniel on 0474 064 629 or flick him an email, daniel.rees@globaltravelnetwork.com.au. Might be some September trips booked in with the doc, but just into some good Oz. Look, I think overall, the fact that we're 7-5 is pretty good. I know we're very much in a build situation, a launch situation, but I think in the end to be 7-5, no matter what, we've got to be pretty happy with that. I'll just go through a couple of games that I thought were obviously really good. The two home wins versus Western Bulldogs and Adelaide. Adelaide game, the Len Hall game, both top 8 sides or with sides with top 8 credentials. And we just dominated both sides and managed to have good wins with both of those. And the away wins, GWS, firstly at the Sydney Showgrounds and then Gold Coast, which is the biggest road trip. And they are a top 8 side as well in weird, windy conditions. To win both those games, I thought, just really shows that maturity and that ability to turn up, show up anywhere, anytime kind of stuff. trying to emulate what we've done in the past and try and show that we are a maturing side. So I think the last 3 weeks in particular have been really positive, and essentially we won 3 games. So we lost 2 games, won 3 games, lost 2 games, I think, or lost 1, won 1, lost 1, and then won another 3 games. So it's a bit of a weird situation at the moment with how we're going, and I'll talk about that in the dockery. Just into some players. Look, you can't go past how Shea Bolton settled into the club. Misses the first game, but he's kicked 16 goals, 14. He's had 6 games where he's had 20 plus disposals, rolling into the guts and being able to be a pivotal guy who not only is kicking goals and hitting the scoreboard, but also clearances, being that just his ability to be just cleaner and smarter and know where the space is and know when to go forward and back and to hold his ground and to move sideways and that kind of stuff. He's so impressive. And, you know, we gave up 2 draft picks to get him, but I think more than anything, we've got to be really happy with the result because he looks like an absolute world beater. And I think, to be honest, if he was doing similar stuff over in the East, they'd be talking about him as an All-Australian. You know, so he's right on the precipice. And the guy who's forever going to be linked to him because we got him in the slide back in our draft picks is Murphy Reid.
Oh,
you know, 14 goals, 8 goal assists, burst onto the scene with the 4 goals in 5 minutes down in Geelong, kicked another 4-goal bag against Port Adelaide, one of the favourites for the Rising Star. But these 2 guys in particular have just given us such a boost in our forward line, something that we've been crying out for a couple of years now, to have 2 guys in the forward line that have that kind of nous, ability, brains, and the way Murphy Reid uses the ball by foot, he's a bit like your grandmas, you know, and that guy who can link between midfield into the forward line.
yes.
And his ability to use the ball by foot is just, it's so elite already. And that's the kind of player that we really have been crying out for. Highly skilled player, a guy that in the future hopefully will roll through the guts. But, you know, he's just, and look, to be honest, I will say this, I'm happy to eat crow. I honestly thought we were either going to trade out of this year's draft or we were going to use that draft pick to maybe try and bring in Cozzy Pickett. And look, no doubt Cozzy Pickett would have had a bigger impact than Murphy Reid at the moment. But, you know, I just think it's so great that we've been able to pick up this guy as well as Bolton, and they've really given us a big boost in our forward line more than anything.
Yeah, look, totally agree. If I said to you that we've got a rookie that comes in and kicks 14 goals off the bat, you probably 14-9 actually, and quite possibly could have been into the 20s, let's be honest, you'd probably say, come on, mate, what are you smoking?
Yeah.
What are you doing there? But I think he's really fitted in the and the idea of how clean he is and the decision-making, the ability to work in close confines. There's just so much to love about this kid and what that X factor adds. And we now have a couple of players in that forward line who have X factor, and everyone knows that Bolton's an X factor player. We know how clean he is, and now he's really starting to find his role and play his role. He's not trying to do everything. He's just trying to be the guy that has impact, and he's now really showing us over a series of weeks what he's capable of doing, and it just adds that class.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was the Western Bulldogs or the Adelaide game in which Murphy Reid just kind of held that ball inside, like won the ball, 2-on-1, crucial, and that kind of stuff as well. Because often you can have a guy who's highly skilled who doesn't like it in hot, doesn't like the tough stuff, but we've kind of got that dual purpose from Murph. Just one more guy before I get into your Macho Man, Oz, and this guy will go hand in glove with your Macho Man, but Caleb Sarong, look, the guy is just dominating in terms of his ability to get clearances, get the ball in and under. I think if he's kept to, I was looking at something in regards to like his ability to get 10 plus clearances in games, which that's unheard of, 10 clearances in a game. He's done it 3 times this year. So his ability to win the ball at the coalface, feed it out. We know that his hands are elite. We know that his decision-making's elite. So Sarong continues to grow. And look, it's so important that him and the Macho Man so far this year are up and about.
Yeah.
This week's Macho Man, of course, is brought to you by Bloom Real Estate. Buying or selling? Why not give Fraser a call? His number is 0439 092 248. Or if you want to think about it like this, 0439 09 2248. Split it up a bit. Separate it into the double numbers. Or you can flick him an email, fraser@bloomwa.com.au. Oz, your Macho Man of the
Midway
season.
point of the season.
Of the Midway.
Midway
Macho
point.
Man of the Midway.
Mate, I'm a pretty simple guy. Most people who know me know that I'm a simple guy, simpleton as well. But just in general, what's wrong?
Is that looking okay, that camera? I just knocked it accidentally.
Oh, you knocked it? No, it was good.
No, it's good.
I can still
All
see
right,
your,
cool.
your pretty face is good.
Sorry, Matt.
That's
Macho Man, go ahead.
Macho Man, go ahead. So,
Simple guy.
The simple guy, I ask for two things, mate.
Yep.
I ask for effort and intent.
I thought one of them was going to be Pepsi Max.
Oh,
Yeah, effort and intent. Effort and intent. Yep,
yeah.
effort and intent.
Effort and intent.
Yep.
And that transfers over to
Oh, is it
how
effort? Sorry to cut you off. Effort and intent, very similar.
No. Effort is how much
Trying.
effort that you give to a game. Intent is the willingness to do whatever it takes. So they're slightly different.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
are
anyway,
different.
keep
Yeah.
going.
Put me up on that. I love it.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I go, there's one player that stands out above the others, and that's through the tackle count. This particular guy currently sits on 81 tackles, Duck, and that's almost 30 tackles ahead of anyone else in the team. And that would be Andy Brayshaw. Brayshaw has shown that he's doing absolutely everything. He was willing to be decapitated.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he's not only doing it defensively, but offensively, his involvement in scoring change is up as well. So he's roughly playing, around 83% of game time. So, he's really up there in terms of usage. I think that now that he's back to his tackling best, it's almost brought his sense of being back to the team, and he's got that real sense of purpose as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's right up there in the Brownlow count as well. I do think Sarong's probably ahead of him at this point in time.
Yeah.
It'd be close, but I reckon...
It's interesting because clearance is obviously very important to a guy like Lachie Neale.
Yeah.
Wins a lot of clearances.
Yes.
Winning it out that coalface that you kind of, sometimes you often miss that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see, Sarong leading the AFL in clearances, Brayshaw 8th at the moment in tackles, but leading the way with us. And it's interesting that there is their balance as well, Oz, isn't it? That
yes,
Sarong is the clearance machine, Brayshaw's the tackler. Just that clearance and tackle, either we're getting it out via Sarong or we're stopping it via Brayshaw, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way those guys have gone about it. And look, I think we've spoken about it a number of times on the pod, how important. And in the end, we can talk about all these guys, all these different people, but in the end, the game's essentially won in the midfield, and it's won for the Dockers by two people, Sarong and Brayshaw.
yes.
And week in, week out, they have to continually show up, especially given that, Fife's been out injured, Young's been out injured, Jay O'Meara, Drees has been out injured, O'Meara's been out injured. You got Raz and Johnson coming up through the ranks. They played Wagner through the guts. Bolton's had to go through there. So, it's one of those things where I think realistically, those two guys standing up is the KPI for our win-loss ratio.
And the two things that I'd like to add to that, Duck, the two players really behind that, obviously Caleb Sarong has had a stellar season to date. He's really only had small moments of being eclipsed by those who are trying to negate his influence, and Geordie Clark is having a season.
Yeah.
And I think for me, he'd also be right up there, not to just to throw in a juicy dangler there, mate. Just
the top four for the Doig that we're going to do in a sec.
I think he's going to be...
I think, and look, to be honest, Jordan Clark, ability to drive off the halfback flank and his ability to run and carry and break lines is so crucial to us winning games. I think Luke Jackson as well has had a really great start to the season. Apart from his hamstring, his ability to follow up at ground level, clearances, ground ball gets, hit outs, his ability around the ground, it's so important. I think, a couple of other guys I really want to mention. Obviously, the Dick Cyclones kicked 23 goals, 11. Big Josh Tracy, and look, he's kind of he's slightly not had the greatest last month, but we've won games. He's gone up the ground a bit more. I think he's kicked like 2 goals in the last 3 games or something like that.
He's become more important in terms of
that link up and
that contested marking.
Yeah.
Is like leading our contested marks.
I think as well, like big props need to go to these guys who are around the outside. Wagner, to be able to reinvent himself, I think he's had a great season. Warner has improved out of sight and been a big part of our ability to lock down on the small defenders. Even though, look, against Collingwood, he got towed up a bit, but I mean, everyone's getting towed up against Collingwood at the moment. Raz, his ability to have a solid run at it and show that he's he is an AFL standard player. And Dudley, what a pickup of Isaiah Dudley. Like just another guy who has just given us extra emphasis forward 50 and ability and brains and not just a grunter, a guy who knows how to use it. So I think those guys have all been really, really great in their improvement, and that's helped us drive forward. And it's one of those things, Odds, where I think you've got to have rise from your bottom 5, bottom 10 that's going to push you over the edge, because you're going to get, your Sarong and Brayshaw and those guys and your Geordie Clark. You're going to get those guys always playing really well. But if you can get improvement from your bottom 5, your bottom 10 on your team, then that's where you really excel forward.
Absolutely. And totally agree with that. How good is Dutters just to come on there and provide, again, another spark, that X factor as well, but smart, being able to deliver, as you mentioned before, and just brings other I think his gift, whilst he can kick goals, his ability to bring others in with his elite scoring chains, I think is something that's really understated. I think his ability to bring others into a better scoring position is probably a stat that needs to be more celebrated if we can actually bring it to the forefront. I think his ability to really find the better target rather than just blaze away, I think it shows the IQ of the young man.
8 goals, 7 this year and 7 goal assists. So again, he just provides us with that extra spark up forward. And to be honest, he's not a high possession winner. However, he is a guy who, when he plays, we generally win 6 wins, 3 losses. So you've got to be pretty pumped with another guy off the SPP that we've been able to bring in, develop, and he's another guy who you give that second chance and they just grab it with both hands, whether it's him, Wagner, Omac, whoever it happens to be, Warner, a bit of a mature age pick. They're grabbing the opportunity with both hands and they're saying, hey, I'm here and I want to make the most of my opportunity here. I'm not going to let anything go. Just into some bad odds. Obviously, when we talk about the games, the Geelong game and the St Kilda game, but the Geelong game was a belting in the end. They kicked 10 goals in the last quarter. The St Kilda game was just plain embarrassing. It was probably the darkest kind of time that the club has been in since probably 2016, you'd say.
Yeah.
When we're 0-10. I think as well, it's interesting. I caught up, and I must mention this. I caught up with Simon Growdy, who was in charge of the AJ Diamond Club for a long time, over the last 5 years. Had a really great chat to him at the Life Members lunch at Uni Footy Club. I'm not a Life member, but you never know. Fingers crossed, 43 games might be able to get a Life membership. But I had a great chat to him about post that St Kilda game, and I think the club was really great in the way they reacted. In retrospect, it was, hey, we've all got to improve. We've all got to be better, and it was one bad game, but it was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing loss, and if we miss the 8 or we miss a top 4 spot because of one game, it's going to come back to haunt us, that game against St Kilda, in which we were absolutely belted. The losses to Sydney and Melbourne, are Sydney and Melbourne good? Sydney definitely aren't good.
No, Sydney are not good.
Melbourne are not that great.
Melbourne
either.
are up and down, but more down than up.
So, both those losses, Sydney at home especially as well. And just into some players, I think obviously Darcy has come back underdone, and that's not his fault, but he's been largely ineffectual, and it's ineffective. Ineffectual, I don't think that's a word. Ineffective, and I don't think the issue is that is it going to cost us games going forward playing Darcy because we want to play him? I don't understand the whole idea of we have to play Darcy. We've got to play him. I'm more leaning towards, let's play Jackson. Let's play Darcy when we can. but let's play predominantly Jackson. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And having said that, I do think he plays against the Kangaroos this week. It would be interesting to see if we were playing. I know we've already played them, but let's say we play Collingwood.
Yeah.
Right. Does he play?
Well, let's say, Oz, if it's interesting. I've been just randomly, it's popping up on my Spotify. So I've been going back and listening to our Read Dockable series that we did.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them we talk about 2013 and a part of that, we talk about Zach Clark and playing the 2 ruckman and this idea that we had to play 2 ruckman. And I still vividly remember on grand final day talking to my mates and saying, this game is literally going to come down to Zach Clark versus David Hale because all the other positions were pretty even. And it was like their backup ruckman versus our backup ruckman who also played in the forward line. And, I just think if you're going into a grand final, and I know it's not this week, but if you're going to a grand final this week, are you playing Darcy? Like the way he's currently playing?
Well, no, not the current scenario.
Yeah, no. I don't think you are either. Now, by the end of the season, if he's managed to get some fitness and get some form and get some Ks under his belt and, he's proven that he can play at the level, then definitely, yeah. And there is that ability to play those 2 ruckmen, but I just think we are now in a spot where we need to continually play our best side.
That's the concern,
and
Duck.
Stop looking forward. Let's just play our best side.
And for me, that's a concern. We've got a lot of players coming back, and this is why match committee have to earn the big bucks because they have to figure out how are we going to bring these guys back in when the players that are currently representing the footy club on the field have actually put together a great run of football.
Yeah.
So you run the risk of interrupting that synergy that's been created in the absence of players who are injured, who no fault of their own for getting injured, but from adversity comes opportunity. And those players who have come in have taken that opportunity with both hands. I think, go back to what you're saying with Raz. I think Raz has put together what I always thought personally that he could put together. And he's only going to continue to get better. I do think he's one that's probably going to make way. I don't agree with that, but I think that's what's going to happen. I also think, the opportunities that were afforded to younger players like Cooper Simpson, I think was a master stroke to train him in the halfback line and have another player that can deliver by foot, I think is fantastic, but unfortunately was injured. So, understandable there. Now, these are the guys, Duck, that I'm not even sure if this is the right time to talk about this, but we've got Fifey coming back, Walters coming back, Noddy O'Driscoll coming back. You've got Jago O'Meara. Apparently, he's not too far away. And, of course, Darcy we've already talked about. But are they now in our best 22 based on what we've seen with the players that we've got? Like, I wouldn't want to see guys like Dudley miss. I wouldn't want to see guys like...
that's the guys. You're looking at guys like Dudley. I think Sharp will potentially be out. Erasmus, Johnson. So they're the 4 guys straight off the bat, I'm thinking.
I don't think Johnson
because like Dudley,
is any chance of getting dropped.
Mate, Dudley but if you just go through it, all right. So Dudley for, Dudley for Walters, Erasmus for Fife.
Yep.
Johnson for O'Driscoll and O'Meara for Sharp because they put him on the wings. Now, whether or not that O'Driscoll-Johnson one's probably the trickiest one. And then Darcy played last time. So, that's probably what they're looking at there. So it is really hard. It's going to be some tough decisions.
Not to mention Youngie when he comes back in.
Yeah, and Oz, I think it's Youngie. And we've got a great question about where we should be playing him in the listener's question. But I think Oz as well, and I don't know if this is Dockery or this is good and bad, but I just, some of the selections have just been head scratching. Obviously, very keen to play Darcy, like I spoke about before. Round 1, playing Reedy and then starting him forward. Like, what was that? No Erasmus for long periods of time, even to the point where it was like, all right, you're pretty much the last bloke here. Brodie seems to be completely done, so I'm not really worried about that too much, but they just seem to not worry about Brodie whatsoever. They're keen to play Darcy, but they're not keen to play Reedy. Like, I feel like Reedy, is Reedy that bad? Because Reedy seems to be going all right in the waffle, but
that's how it looks.
It looks like again.
That's how it looks. I'm not saying looks in terms of his game, sorry, but how it looks in terms of the selection.
But the continuation to go too toward, where it be too many tools in the forward line, the back line, or the double ruck. And the fact like what we believe is that the best balance is the three tall backs, 3 tall forwards, and 1 ruckman. So there's 7, but we seem to go with 8 for some reason.
Just go with 10.
I think Omac played his best game he's played for us, and then he gets dropped the next week. So how does that, like, what is the understanding behind that? But then the credit, you've got to say the Wagner shift from backline into the guts, playing Raz after dropping him and giving him a run of it. The Dudley Murphy selections, really great selections. Banners to the backline, really smart decision, although it's kind of out of necessity. And like you said, Simpson to the half backline, that looked really good before he was injured. So, you know, like there's yings and yangs and there's ups and downs, and, you know, like it becomes hard when you're like, kind of like, I don't understand. And even you'd say the Gold Coast selections, to bring in Darcy, to bring back Fife, you're kind of like, what is going on here? But it works. It works. So you've got to give credit. I think as well, just a couple other players. Obviously, Fife, Walters and Young, they've been injured for pretty much most of the year, all 3, and 3 key players for us last year. So really need to make sure we get those guys on the park and finishing the year strong with those guys. Plus, like you said, O'Meara and O'Driscoll, very important we get the 2 big O's on there. Draper looks to have just, look, we were talking about him about a guy who put in the back line, set and forget. You're talking all Australian. He doesn't look like he's going to be, like, he looks like he's falling lower down the pecking order, you know? So
what's happened there? Injury, maybe?
There might be a slight injury, but he keeps playing at Peel. So it might just be a confidence thing. You know, he got put to play on smaller defenders and got towed up a couple of times. He did a really good job on Sam Darcy, if we remember. So he matches up well on those go-go gadget guys, and he might have been a good matchup, although he did play on the weekend, but I think, did he end up, like, if he could have played on Ben King, maybe might have been a bit, but yeah, he just bereft of confidence there a little bit, the big fella, and we really need him to be the next guy up when it comes to either Brennan Cox or Alex Pearce, when those guys, or Luke Ryan or Chapman, if they're playing tall.
I think he's got a lot of, he's very young, and obviously he'll work it out, hopefully, and it is what it is, but I also feel he's a prime target for umpires when they look to someone who's holding. Yeah. So he's one of those players where they keep a close eye on, and he's going to hold someone. They'll just call the free against.
It's like he's a bit of a no-name. Call a hold against him. And also, look, and this is a bit of a weird one, but Jai Miss, he's kicked 17-7, this year. He's had 5 games where he's had multiple goals in games, but he's had 7 games where he's kicked 1 goal or less. So, you know, he's had over 10 disposals once. It's just a little bit of a weird one where we saw this guy who was clearly going to be a key forward, power forward, looks the goods, and and look, we know that not all progress is linear and development isn't linear, but I think we would, as a Dockers fan, and hopefully you're on the same boat here, Oz, but we would have hoped for a little bit more than what we've seen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's right when you say it's not linear. Peaks and troughs with everything. I mean, that could be said about Freo season. One of the things that really interests me is the role change. And if you nailed it when you talked about when we first saw him explode onto the scene, he was that leading forwards, and we were willing to hit that target because we just didn't have forward targets at the time. Let's be honest, we didn't. And so we were looking at him. And then even in that final against Collingwood, I remember watching that going, the youth of Fremantle is something to be excited about, and let's see how that progresses going forward. And he would have been in that equation as a young guy, clearly. But one thing I will say, Duck, is his role has changed. He has been usurped by Josh Tracy, who is now clearly and deserves to be the number 1 forward target. And even though Josh does push up the wing, and that's why his contested marks suggest, you know, and look, some of those contested marks are inside 50, but he's also being that true centre half forward. It's a lot. It does remind me a little bit of Carey-esque type stuff. You know what I mean? When he's called upon to really break packs and take key marks and break the game open. So his role's changed a little bit, but the thing that probably surprises me the most out of all this, Duck, is I think Paddy Voss has probably gone past Jai in terms of, you know, the forwards and who we look to hit, and whether that's his positioning, whether that's what we want, I don't know. But certainly Voss has become a physical focal point
Yeah.
and, leading to the ball and, tackling and all that sort of stuff, which because Jai plays in that cage sort of role, we don't often get to see what's actually happening unless you're live. At the home games, we get to see it. But you don't often see what he's doing, whereas you see Voss quite a bit involved physically, that big tackle that he had early that set the trend for the Dockers versus Gold Coast. So to me, there's a couple of players that I think have gone past him. I mean, again, he's young, so, still learning. Where does he fit in the forward line? And that's the other thing that for me probably concerns me a little bit more is if we're going to play the two ruckmen, are you telling me we're going Tracy, Jackson, Darcy, Voss, and Amos? Is that that's too tall? That's too tall. So who's missing out there?
Yeah, and at the moment you just about have to say it's Jai. Look, and that's the hard thing, isn't it? So
quality player.
Over the last couple of years, so 2023 has 58 shots at goal, kicks 41-17. And that's his accuracy is a part of his game that makes him that's like the part that makes him elite is his accuracy. In 2024, there is that regression accuracy. He actually has 64 shots at goal. So he had, 6 more shots at goal last year, kicked 36-28. And then this year so far, he's had 24 shots at goal halfway through the season, kicked 17-7, and 4 of those goals were against the Eagles, and a couple of them were Joe the Gooses. So, it's just one of those things where he's kind of tracking about the same as the last couple of years in terms of disposals, marks. They're all about half of what he's got over the last couple of years. So, it's just one of those ones where we just keep a watch on it. His handballing's actually... he's handballing a lot more than what he has in the past, which is an interesting one. But look, you just got to say, look, Jai, let's get those leads and let's look for him as well. I'd love to see us look for him a bit more.
Oh, that would be great.
Just into some Dockery. And speaking of Paddy Voss, if Paddy Voss isn't one of the most Dockery players going around, I don't know who is, Oz. His celebrations, his suspension, his kick versus the Swans. He missed like 3 shots for goal. He essentially single-handedly lost us the game versus the Swans. And look, to be honest, I don't know if he gets suspended, whether or not we lose a couple of those games in between. His celebrations are too rowdy. Just chill out, Vossi. I thought Alex Pearce, obviously getting suspended and then being injured, and I noticed that he's on the TBA list, so who knows what's going on with Alex Pearce. Probably just take the suspension next time, mate. The loss versus Collingwood, we dominated in every area, but just could not score. And, dominated for not much. Obviously, our man who's become the new Dockery favourite in Jeremy Sharp, and I've done some stats on Sharp here.
Here we go.
So the 2 key games are obviously the GWS game, in which he runs 14.8 kilometres for 3 disposals. So that's 4.9 kilometres per disposal.
That's a long.
Nearly cracks the 5K mark.
It's a long distance to run for a.
The Gold Coast game, he runs 16.4 kilometres for 4 disposals, and that's 4.1 Ks per disposal. Over the last 6 weeks, Oz, he has run 96.3 kilometres for 53 disposals.
Wow.
All right. So that's 1.8 Ks per disposal for the big fella. So he's Sharpie, very much a guy who does a lot of running, doesn't touch it much. But as we know, Oz, when he doesn't touch it, we win a lot of games. So Sharpie, you just keep running, buddy, getting back in that hole and defending and getting tackled over the boundary line and stuff like that. Heaps of touches, but no actual disposals. As the final thing that I think is very Dockery, and look, we obviously are one of the people that aggregate this and make it worse, but the book, the bust, blow up the club cycle, aka the flagman will blow up the club, kind of stuff that the fans are, and some of it's tongue in cheek, but some of it also is very much like we get so excited when we win. Yes. We go, oh, we're gonna win this, and here comes flagman, or book the bus and get the party started, clear out your September and get the tats sorted and this and that. Like, it's just after every win, like sometimes we can just say, look, it was a good win. It was a good win. Just chill out. Yep. And I think we've done that. But also when we lose, we don't need to blow up the club. So I think it goes back to one of your favourite sayings, Rossisms.
It's never as good. It's never as bad.
So never as good, never as bad, I think. Maybe should be, let's just try and do that rather than this celebration of wins like we're, Book that
100%.
Bars flag medal. Here
Doc,
we
make
come.
sure we got some tickets to September. Mate.
To,
Sorry, what? Yep.
if we lose, blow up the club,
Yep.
book in your Bali trips, all that kind of stuff.
Cancun, 1, 2, 3, Cancun.
That's it. All right, I was on that note. Let's go to a break. When we come back, we'll have some top 5 Doig now and some So Name Capital listeners' questions. Welcome back to Season 10, Episode 17 of The Purple Rain.
Purple Rain.
Now, Oz, just before we get into the So Name Capital listeners' questions, we thought we'd do just a quick spot check of who we think will be leading the Doig Medal at this time come the end of the year, halfway through the season. So do you want to go with your top 5 or do we want to go from 5 to 1 together? What do you want to do?
This is the music that I got here, Doc.
Yep.
It's not Peel Thunder, but it's Thunderstruck. Go.
At 5th, I've got Jordan Clark.
I
Who have you
have
got 5th?
Josh Tracy.
At 4th, I have Luke Jackson.
I also have Luke Jackson.
At 3rd, I have Shea Bolton.
I have Geordie Clark.
At 2nd, I have Andy Brayshaw.
I have Caleb Sarong.
And at 1st, I've got Caleb Strong.
I have Andy Brayshaw.
All right, maybe we'll post them up on socials, mates, and see how we're going come this time at the end of the year. All right, Oz, let's get into the So Name Capital listeners' question, shall we? This week's listeners' question is brought to you, as always, by So Name Capital. Dockers fan, ready to score big with your finances? Then look no further than So Name Capital. As your trusted financial brokers, they specialise in home loans, business loans, construction and property loans, equipment loans, and even foreign exchange. They'll help you tackle your financial goals and set up victory on and off the field. So don't miss out. Visit sonamecapital.com or call Nick on 0409 62 65 61. How's that, Oz?
Go.
0409 62 65 61.
Go.
And let's build our financial future together. Oz, I'll start.
Go.
This is from Laughing Man 92.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the new stealth jumper?
I love it. I love everything about stealth, which is great. I still have my old stealth jumper.
I've still got mine.
If you put it on, though, you can't see me. You know what I'm saying?
Too stealthy.
Too stealthy. I like it, mate. Let's get more stealth in. The more stealth, the better for me. I reckon it should be like a third kit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I think that every team should have a complete, like what GWS had on the
black.
weekend. GWS have the charcoal black, Gold Coast have the pink. Every team should have a clear third kit that doesn't clash with anyone else.
Yep.
So, like, you know, on the weekend, what was the game I was watching that wasn't great? Adelaide versus...
West Coast Kangaroos wasn't great.
Adelaide versus
Oh, you mean
Brisbane.
jerseys?
Brisbane, there was a little bit of a clash there. Yeah, no, not a great game. Like Port Adelaide, GWS.
Oh.
Stunk. Oh, I tipped Port as well. Good win. But Adelaide versus Brisbane, there was like a slight clash in the jumpers, and it was kind of like, Brisbane, just have an all-white jumper. Like, everyone should have an all-white or an all just like colour rush. Like, that's completely different to, so, I don't know, stealth jumper, but...
Yep, love it. All right, this is from Jordan Hall _ Dark, which players won't be at the club in 2026?
Well, Jordan, there's a fair few players out of contract, and if you're out of contract and you haven't signed one up to this point, then I'd be thinking. But I think there's a couple of guys here that will obviously stay because they play well. But the guys out of contract: Riddle, Dudley, Deline, Aish, Sharp, Warner, Reedy, Walters, Fife, Raz, Odin Jones, Omac, and Narkle. Of those guys, I think that Odin Jones and Deline are probably right on the chopping block. I think they'll keep Reedy because they'll just say, look, we'll just keep developing in. The Riddle might get another year as a rookie listed player. Aish, Fife, and Walters, I don't know, depends on the end of their seasons. Dudley, yes. Warner, yes. Sharp, yes. And Raz, hopefully. Speaking of Oz,
Yes.
Luke Webster's asked,
Oh, Lukey.
with the news that the clubs are circling Erasmus, including the Eagles,
Yeah.
has he shown enough in recent times to give him an extension?
Of course, mate. Like, I think if anything, he's shown the actual diligence and patience to get an opportunity that's long overdue. And look, there have been times where, like you said, he hasn't taken it, but I think that comes purely because his position has always been under the gun. Like, there's no stability there, where you've mentioned before that other players have had plenty of opportunities afforded to them and have had that security knowing that they can, if they go ahead and make mistakes, they're not going to be chopped the next week, and that's just not Raz. So I love the fact that he's bounced back. He's showing what he can do, but wouldn't it just be Dockery that he shows us what he's capable of doing, comes out of his shell, plays great footy, and then he goes. Then he dominates at another
this
club.
question without notice.
Go.
If you were Neil Erasmus, would you look to move?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Would you?
Yeah. I think if you're not going down the road to the Eagles, you're kidding yourself.
Yep. And
if you're not the Eagles and you're going, we'll give you because he's out of contract, so it's like a third rounder.
Yeah.
Third rounder for this bloke. Yeah, they're not doing their job properly there in their list management.
I would want assurances that it's not going to return to the status quo of me being sub or in and out like every 6 weeks or something like that. Like, I know that,
but I don't think that
would
would be the case at Eagles.
No, I'm not talking about Eagles.
At Dockers. Yeah. Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one to set in contract. But yeah,
no, I mean you can't do that. All right, this is from Medi Reynolds Duck. On the roller coaster, speaking of which, of Freo supporting, we are pretty high. How nervous are you for the North game and the defecation which follows?
Well, North played really poorly and should have probably lost down in Bunbury. But yeah,
cheers, I tipped the Eagles.
Yeah, we've got to
no longer top.
Yeah, we've got
all
to
over Oz.
You've just got to keep tipping favourites if you're on top, mate.
Yeah.
And people won't catch you because they'll try to tip non-favourites. Yeah, that's what you got to do. That's how you win comps.
I know, man. I've been
tipping comps. But yeah, I worry. I worry about the bath drinking, the bathwater drinking. How good are we? We've won 3 in a row. We're top 8. And it all comes crashing down pretty quickly. We've been really poor post buys.
Yeah. See, the problem is statistically, historically, we have been woeful. And shout out to Cozzy, who did actually mention this, that there could well and truly be a big old Mr. Whippy van in the middle of the oval. There could just be a turd Ferguson laying scenario. Let's hope not.
All right. This one was a few from Jake Kennedy. If Cozzy Pickett is now likely to stay in Melbourne and we keep Jackson, how are you feeling about all that?
Oh, yeah. Look, Jackson's a unicorn in my opinion, and I'd love him to stay. I don't know what that involves. It's interesting, and I don't know if this is the reason for the reason or whatever, but I know other clubs really look to secure families and help them around and partners get them involved in not just the club, but, whether it's sponsorship, find placements in whether it is commercial advertising or whether it is, in this case, commentating for, the Fever or I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what it is. But surely we'd be doing absolutely everything in our power to make both L. Jackson 3 votes and his lovely missile feel a lot better about staying in Perth.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
So Cozzy Pickett not coming, how are you feeling after that?
Oh, look, I don't know if it's completely out of the question. I just think his manager's done a great job of securing a lucrative contract. But here's the thing, Duck. Melbourne are only going to go as far as he personally can take them. Yeah. Now, I say that because he has been so instrumental in their recent run of form that if you take Cozzy Pickett out of their side, Melbourne are they're not putrid, but I wouldn't say they're good.
Yeah, 3 goals, 1 and 15 disposals today. Again, continues to show how good he is. It's just, I think it's like, if you're Cozzy Pickett, you've won your flag at Melbourne.
Yep.
Okay. What's the trajectory for Melbourne? For me, I feel like Melbourne are going to be like North Melbourne were for like 10 years, where they're not the worst team because they've got good players, but they're not going to be challenging for finals.
No.
If they are, it's bottom of the 8. And they need everything to fire at the same time. So I feel like if I was Cozzy Pickett, I'd be coming to the Dockers, but that's just me, and I'm obviously quite biased.
Can you imagine, again, I say this, you want to be part of that very first Fremantle premiership. There is a sense of immortality bringing a first ever premiership to a team starved of success.
Yeah.
And the legendary status that forever will be enshrined in Dockers history based on that. Mate, you're telling me that's not worth staying around for or coming over for?
Yep. All right, what do you
Free
got for
beers for the rest of your life. Coming up. This is from Ingrid Rieger. Shout out, Ingrid. Which teams do you dislike the most, Duck?
Oh, I don't like Carlton.
Yeah, Carlton's right up there for me.
I don't like Geelong. I just don't like Geelong, how they moan about stuff and then they like... I love that... you know what I love? That Geelong complain that the travel burden isn't that big of an issue. And then the AFL actually investigated and realised, oh yeah, the travel is a massive issue. That's like one of my favourite things. The Scots always complain about umpiring. They always do dodgy stuff with pulling blokes out. They do dodgy stuff with their payments. They're an all-round dodgy group.
You know what I find fascinating?
What's that?
Is that they always have a collection of some really weird, like it, not tradition's the wrong word, but a really weird phenomenon. Like if they have one red head, they've got 4 red heads. If they're all wearing surfy hair, they're all wearing surfy haircuts. Shave my head, I will shave my head. I got bald guys, I got more bald guys. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's really weird that they don't just have one of the bald redhead, you know, they just seem to collect and just double down on that sort of stuff.
It's interesting. The other team obviously being the Eagles, and I think I just don't like the Eagles because my cousins, when I used to watch footy with them, they'd like scream at the TV like maniacs, and I always found that really funny. And like my aunties as well would like scream at the TV. You're just like, chill out. Like you are not influencing any of this. But also I was like, I found it funny that Don Pike was like, we've had good times and we've had bad times at the Eagles. Like you've had good times until 2019, 2020. You guys were all good times. There was no bad times. They had like 2 bad seasons. They won a flag every like 4 or 5 years. Where's the bad times? Now they've got the bad times, and the bad times are going to continue for a fair while. So, Liam Ryan, mate.
Oh, you think he's a sniff?
Would you go after him?
Did you see his one-handed pickup?
Would you go after him, Bart?
Make a difference.
Yeah. If you're not getting Cozzy, a big upgrade.
Oh, boy.
All right, Oz, this one for you from Gravy Man.
Yep.
Do you think we're the number one side in the league for not being able to kill a ball 1 meter out from our goals?
I love this. Okay, so I was having an absolute rant with the Andy Ratio Club, watching this live. Like, is it just us, or is it any other team that is so inept at clearing a ball, not even 1 meter, Duck?
Yeah.
Like, all you got to do is rush it through. You got someone on your A-hole.
Yeah.
Someone right up your hammer. The choo-choo train's arriving. All you got to do is move the ball over the goal line.
Dive over the line.
Just going to leave it.
Yeah. Soccer it through. Nah.
Going to spoil it through? Nah.
Yep.
Like, mate, is there any other club that does this?
No,
I mean, I must admit I don't investigate this, but I'd like to know. Is someone out there?
Can investigate.
Someone investigate this? Because
I love this, Oz, and this is shout out to Dork Talk, who are a very spasmodic podcasting duo. They're 2 spasmodic cats in Monkey and Juddy. But Monkey's theory used to be the team that kicks the most goals from the goal square wins the game. So goals from less than 10 meters out is the number 1 KPI, which I don't think he's too wrong. If you're getting a lot of goals from the goal square, you're winning.
Well,
all right. What do you got for us?
This is from Ian Anchor. Looking to 2026, after our first championship, what do we need to improve the list profile?
I wouldn't mind seeing us get some more pace, I think, especially on our wings. I think like Johnson and Sharp, you could definitely upgrade those guys. And with that, we probably need another small defender. They're probably the spots. Is there anywhere, Oz, that you think that we Because I think we've got key forwards, we've got key backs, we've got small forwards now.
We've been saying for years we need key forwards, and all of a sudden we've got a glut of good key forwards, which is great. I think we need a goal-kicking midfielder. That big body, developing that big body, I think we've got some people going through there. But, I mean, look, you've got the Chad. I mean, the Chad is the guy for me.
Yeah.
If you get Chad, everything's complete. I mean, look, ideally, defenders-wise, it's interesting because you've got Ryan and Coxie back there, and I'd be interested to know with Ryan, we're talking about we had the other side of his peak. So,
oh yeah, we're past the apex.
So we then now need to look at that.
But that's where maybe someone like a Chapman could play that role. I think he could play that role well. We've got guys like, I guess you've got the Simpson. He's probably not tall enough and can play on that as defend, but maybe even like a Draper. That's what his role ends up being. We've got Hugh Davies and Ollie Murphy as well that are still developing in the. So they're looking at it. I think they're thinking about it. And also, not saying that Luke Ryan, we're going to be able to do this, but we have been able to pick up guys from state leagues that have played that role. Luke Ryan, mature age pick, Lee Spur before him. So it's not like something that we're really going to be, we can't find someone. And you can also, but Luke Ryan is, I mean, in the end, Oz, like I always say this, Luke Ryan's probably going to go down as our best defender of all time.
And great to find.
Pure accolades.
Just like being able to find it. All right, mate, this is from Randall Skinner. In Freo's history, which jumper number holds the games played record across all players to wear the number, and is there a standout jumper number that is considered legend status because 2 or more players have won it? Have you actually researched this?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Okay,
good.
Good.
Okay. That's why I gave it to me. So here's some numbers and here's some guys where they rank on the all-time list.
Hit me.
Wearing number 8, Sean Mack is 7th most games.
Yep.
Wearing number 16, David Mundy's number 1. Wearing number 18, Luke McFarlane's number 5, and that includes 10 games with the Hawks. Wearing number 23, Shane Parker is 8th. Pav, where do you reckon Pav ranks for wearing number 29?
At the club?
No, out of all players. This is all players who have ever worn the number 25 in the history of AFL.
29 in the history of the AFL? He's got to be number 1 or 2.
He's 3rd.
Oh.
Kevin Bartlett and Boomer Harvey both played over 400 games and both wore 29. He's not even number 1 for goals kicked in 29. This is an interesting one. Sandy is 2nd for number 31. Shane Parker was 8th for number 23.
Right.
Stephen Hill 9th for 32. The Wiz is 8th for 33, but obviously he did play. And you know what? If the Wiz played in 33 when he first got to the club, mate, he'd probably be about 4th. Michael Johnson's 2nd in 37. Duffield is 3rd in 41. Roger Hayden is 6th in 43. Clancy Pearce. 4th in 46. Jay Van Berlo was 10th in 47.
No, it's wearing 40.
Pete Miller, 49, 10th. Played 16 games. But Oz, I think in terms of the number that is actually the most worn in Dockers history is number 8. And I've been thinking about this, Oz. So the number 8 goes Shawnee Mack.
Give it the credit.
Into Nick Subban.
My humps.
Then into Andy Brayshaw. Now, Oz.
Yes.
Can I tell you this?
Yes.
That if you're going Shawnee Mack, Nick Subban, Oz.
Yep.
The next person can't be Andy Brayshaw. The jumper should have gone. And this is in my opinion.
The way. Sorry.
It should have gone. Shawnee Mack.
Yep.
Nick Subban.
Yep.
Blake Acres.
Because
he used to put the snow on it.
Yes,
the snowman.
he did.
Then Jeremy Sharp. K's to touches. Are you telling me that those 4 blokes don't all have a synergy? A Dockery synergy? Andy Brayshaw is too good to be wearing the number 8.
Okay, look.
542 games out of 868.
Is that now
the number 8's been worn?
A legitimate explanation as to why he tends to misses those shots on goal?
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
So if he goes to
Nick Subban.
What does he go to? What number does he go to?
Well, I think he has to go to like number maybe like a number 18 or a number.
Or 18, that's McFarlane's number.
Yeah, I know, but just, I don't know.
Is there
49,
a number,
take over Pete
mate,
Miller.
is there a number
47.
is there a number you'd like to quarantine?
I would like I think this. I would love for us to have retired numbers.
Yeah.
I would love for us to be the first club that retired numbers. I think 29 should have been retired.
Yep.
I think 16 should have been
Correct.
retired. I think I'd only go with those two so far because Pav and Mundy are just like, they are the two. They're essentially the two standouts when you think about Fremantle Dockers. I think if you just like, because they're like 16 and 29, they're not like they're like special numbers or anything. But if you hung those from the rafters, you know, and people weren't to be worn again, I really like that. And I want more guys wearing weird numbers. I want 47. I want 49. I want
68.
Yeah, and you just, like 60, 50, 69. But you know what I mean? I would love to see that.
Yeah.
All right, this one here from Paul Yole.
Oh.
It has been suggested that Hayden Young could play across the halfback when he returns from injuries. Your thoughts on that?
Hayden Young? It's tasty.
To the halfback.
It's tasty, Duck. It's tasty because someone else to help out Geordie Clark.
Yeah.
And
Are you Oz?
I'm just a little concerned about the volume of work required to get Young back into the midfield and whether that has, and I've flagged this before, that I feel that might be a little bridge too far this season. Why not nurse him back to a halfback role? Well, I know he can hit a bee's appendage from 148 metres away.
What about this, Oz?
Yeah.
Okay, couple of questions involved in this. Is Young a better upgrade in the back line on someone like a Banners than in the midfield on like a Raz?
Yes.
Is Young, here's another curly one for you, rather than playing back, goes to the forward line.
Yeah, he can take marks. Mate, Young is so good he can play anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you do want him delivering the ball, but that's not...
But like having a shot for goal, he's the best. He's like such a great kick, man.
Yeah, I know.
He's a freak. He's a freako.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Forward line.
Well, we love tackling, so he still tackles,
But like
so he can get his tackles on the forward line.
You put Bolton as more of a midfielder.
Oh.
And you're playing Young up forward.
Telling me.
You know.
All right, mate. This is from Arthur Kudler. Is there a player who you see is about to pop and take their game to another level post mid-season bye?
Ooh. I would love, in my heart of hearts, I'd love it to be Jai.
Yeah.
I'd love it to be
100%.
Jai. Yeah. But the guy who I've actually seen the most improvement from, who I think is going to cement his spot in the side for the next 5 years, hopefully, is Carl Warner. He's playing bloody good footy, man.
Great football.
Is there anyone you can think of who's going to take it to the next level?
Taking it to the next level is hard because...
Sharpie? More Ks, less touches?
I actually think there's a hell of a lot more from Noddy O'Driscoll if you can get a clean run at it.
Oh, yeah.
If he gets a clean run at it, mate,
Love
look
that.
out. Finals bound.
All right.
No, shut up. Let me tell you this, Duck, right now. I'm telling you. Turn the TikTok camera on, Carl. I'm telling you right now, mate, if we can get Noddy O'Driscoll up and about and he's playing his best footy, kicking goals from the wing, possibly from the middle, we are playing deep finals. Lock it in.
Love it. All right, this one's from Cooper J. Petey. Love that name. Which current player of ours could you see playing another sport professionally for Australia?
For Australia? Yeah, I'm going to back JT in playing cricket for Australia. I reckon as a bowler, even though he was a batsman.
They said he was a batter.
He was a batsman, but
big burly, bustling.
Burly mates.
Yeah.
Steaming in, cooking blokes, that'd be great. Obviously, Luke Jackson basketball.
You tuning into Prime for the Australian Test Champion? The World Test Championship?
Yes.
Australia versus South Africa?
Mate, get in there. Love it. 2020's future of cricket. You heard it from me. Alex Hogan, Duck. What is your favourite and least favourite thing about teaching?
I just love coming to school every day, man. Like I know you're probably in a similar vein, but I'm very fortunate that I actually love going to work every day. I enjoy being at work. The thing I like most is just getting to know the kids and that rapport stuff and just like having a yarn to them about stuff. But I also love teaching them economics. Like I really do. I enjoy them understanding like why it's important to know what the interest rates are doing, why it's important to know what the government's spending money on, why, hey, how come prices have gone up? Like, what's going on with that? Why productivity is important? Why they're learning what they're learning. I like that. In terms of stuff I don't like, I mean, marking kind of sucks, but also marking, you get that. Every now and again, you get that, like, yes, this kid got it. Like, oh, man, this kid understood it. But yeah, having punishing kids sucks. I don't like doing it. I would prefer to come from a point of like, what did you learn from this? Like you made a mistake, but what did you learn? But if kids continually make the mistakes,
Yep.
It's weird. I get real nitpick every now and again. If I'm a bad move, man, I can be horrible on nitpicking. Shirt in, tie. What are you doing? Like where are you going, mate? And just raw. Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite and least favorite thing about teaching?
I love the growth in learning from kids. Clearly, that's the jam. Whether it's in the classroom economics wise, or just getting how to be a good human. Probably people thinking what, but like in my former role, like up to this point, like when you deal with kids in leadership and all that sort of stuff, like you like seeing the growth for kids that, made a few mistakes or whatever it is early on, but they've really blossomed into, great leaders of the future. That's what you want. What don't I like? I don't like the admin side of things, mate.
Yeah, admin kind of sucks.
Yeah, and there's the job has now become more admin than it ever has.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
You know what I do love most, and this is why I recommend most people should be teachers? The holidays are so great for your mental health. Like to know every 10 weeks you're having at least 2 weeks off, and to know you're either 5 weeks from a break or 5 weeks since it's been a break. And like you've got the 4-day middle term stuff. Like I love working, but I love not working more. You know what I mean? Like that's like everyone loves, like people do enjoy their work, but no one loves it more than not working.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I encourage people to teach. I'm like the holidays. And when I first became a teacher, someone talked to me about holidays. And I was like, how dare you? I don't teach for the holidays. Now I'm like, it's the number one thing. And it's not because I don't love teaching. It's because I love the break and to have the reset and the mental health side of things. I think it's so important to the point where I'm like, people shouldn't be dragging down teachers and saying, oh, you guys have too many holidays. People should be questioning in their workplace, why do we work so much? Like, what are we busting our ass for? Like, in the end, don't really matter. Nothing really matters that much. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is actually that important that we do. Like, nothing really. So like, in the end, why are you busting your ass? Not saying that you shouldn't bust your ass when you're at work, but have that. We know how important mental health is. Like, I don't know. I know.
Yeah, like it.
All right.
Yep.
This one for you.
Go.
Last one. That was my last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This one from Prairie Grill 0028.
Hey.
And I got this one especially for you, Oz, because, I enjoy all this stuff. Name a fast food menu item that is objectively bad, but you are gluten for. You love it.
Oh, glutton. What I know is bad. Oh, KFC. Unfortunately, KFC.
Yeah.
The smell of the herbs and spices
makes you sick straight away.
The funniest thing is where I am. If I get the call like once every 2 or 3 weeks, hey, can you bring some cuffs home for the kids or whatever? The good thing is that the store around the corner from me often runs out of. Like I know they just run out of like chicken or whatever it is. Oh, sorry, I can't do it. Because then it's not going to kill the heart.
What I used to do this is terrible. You go to KFC towards closing time, mate, you can pretty much get as much chicken as you want for like $10.
Oh,
you can be like, bro, I'll give you $10.
Dude.
Give me as much chicken as you got, and you just eat it. Like I'm trying to think who eats it like that in a movie where they just like take a bite and just throw it. I did that one night, like walking home drunk, just like bite, throw. Bite, throw. That's the kind of stuff you can get up to, mate, if you're a bit of a mad dog.
Towards closing time.
Can't say that I tried that.
Yeah, if you've ever had a couple of beers in Subi, go to the Subi KFC at about 10 o'clock. Mate, how much chicken will you give me for $10? Chris, $10 note. You just fill up that box, big boy. You can keep that tenner if you want to as well. You can just put it in your pocket if you want to. Big couple of winks. All right, I was on that note. We've got footy back this Saturday night. Now, guys, can I say this? People listening, and no doubt a lot of you will have already bought your tickets. I can't probably stress enough how important, one, you can't use your membership, so you've got to buy tickets, but how important going forward it actually is that we fill this game.
We have to fill the game.
Fill the game.
Because then we get future games.
Yeah, and then it just keeps
One
going.
more home game, people.
Oh, what about this, Oz? They see that it's filled up. Oh, hang on. Hey, my name's St Kilda. I got no money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move. Hey,
Busted ass club.
Yeah, I'm not going to go
How
to
about we come
Tasmania. We're going to come over.
Hey, I'm Gold Coast. I'm the Nepo baby.
You know, did Gold Coast sell us a game one year?
I don't know. Probably did.
I think they did.
Did the AFL just give them money anyway?
Yeah. Anyway, but
There's
guys,
a team I don't
get
like.
around it. Fill the game up. Bring your purple. Cheer loud. Get some good seats. Why not upgrade your seats from where you usually sit? Change it up.
Hey.
I know a lot of people are creatures of habit and they want to stay in the same spot. Swap wings. Swap sides.
Get funky.
Get higher. Get lower. Get sideways. On that note, remember, guys, as well, we've got all this new merch that we're dropping. We've got Just F and Get After It. We've got Wharfie Time.
It's 25% off. It's currently on the website. I just had a look. I'm not lying to you.
Oh, mate, we bought that stuff yesterday. God damn. All right, so it's 25%
It's 25% off for the next, I think it is for the next like 10 hours or something.
We'll post the code online.
It's on there. The link's on there, ready to go.
Get around it. Get around that.
Click it.
25% off. Click and collect. No, not click and collect. It's good quality. You get mailed to you. Remember, if you want to get a nicer quality, there's the high quality t-shirts.
Support
There's
Oz's
the
dog.
high qualities. John, mate, that dog needs some support. Yeah, bring it down the farm, mate. I'll support it. Definitely. Give it some lead support. Anyway, Oz.
Yeah.
On that note, remember, we are at Purple Rain 95, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at The Purple Rain 95 on TikTok, Gmail, and YouTube. Make sure if you're watching, sorry about the spasmodism of the watching and the viewing, because me and Oz don't really, well, Oz, you're good at video, but I don't know how to do anything. Yeah, we're just working through it. It's a work in progress. But thank you, guys. And remember to subscribe, rate, and review.
See you guys. Pack it out.